What's up YouTube? Capital G here. Yes, I am still alive and I am still posting Yu-Gi-Oh videos, although I do apologize for the lack of content as of recent. And I am going to have a community post that will talk about how I'm going to be posting videos in the future. But for right now, let's focus on these new cards that finally got revealed. I believe Konami teased these cards, but they didn't say what they actually did. Otherwise, I would have been covered these cards. And they're pretty retro in design. They're basically like remakes of old Yugi, Kaiba, and Joey cards. Think kind of like maybe like Battle City arc from like the original DM. Now I don't know when we're getting these in a TCG because I don't know what the TCG equivalent of Legendary Monsters pack is. I would imagine it's Battles of Legends, but to my knowledge, Konami still hasn't talked about that for this year, so I'm not gonna, guess at this point. Anyways, let's go ahead and cover what I believe is the best card. We're going to start with the new Guiltia, so I guess we're starting with Joey. This is Guiltia, the D-Knight Soul Spear. It is a level 5 Light Warrior monster, 1850, 1500 attack. I'm going to guess that that's Guiltia's stats from the anime, and correct me if I'm wrong, dude, I feel like Guiltia was totally a fusion monster in the anime. Like, maybe it wasn't, but I don't know. Something's telling me it was like a fusion monster. Anyways, your third effect is a hard once per turn. Your first effect says, if you control no monsters, you can normal summon this card without tributing. Second effect, when this card is normal summoned, you can banish one monster your opponent controls with attack higher than this card's or equal or higher attack than this card's. Third effect, you can discard one card, add one level 7 Dark Dragon, one level 6 Dark Machine monster, or one level 5 Water Warrior monster from your deck to your hand. So you get to pick and choose between the three of those. You don't get to get all three of them. That would be that would just be kind of nuts. So I'm a big fan of this new Guiltia, and I actually think that we need more cards like this in Yu-Gi-Oh! These like high level main deck monsters that you can either normal summon or special summon very easily when a specific condition is met. Obviously, in this case, it's have no other monsters on the field. Cards like Beast King Barbaros. I'm just a very big fan of these type of cards, or Alpha, like the King of Beasts and stuff like that. Anyways, this card reminds me very much of the Super Quantum Red Layer. The main difference between the two cards is this one obviously eats up your normal summon, while that one does not. But I think that this card has an incredibly high ceiling that's much higher than Red Layers, especially when you're talking about current Yu-Gi-Oh! And competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And how it's played, where if you're going second, there's a very good chance your opponent's going to have a big boss monster on field that's going to have much higher attack than this card, and might be a card with some negation. Maybe think about an Invoke Makaba, a Borreload Savage Dragon, a Red Ice Dark Dragoon, maybe even something like a Shadow Winda. Guess what? This card answers all of those just off a normal summon. You can just banish any of those, non-targeting by the way. So if your opponent has multiple of those cards, they basically have to stop this, otherwise they're going to lose one of their monsters and they don't know which one. I actually think, to be honest, hot take, I think that this card's even good enough to just side deck in if you're going second. If you're playing a deck that maybe is like very control based, doesn't need its normal summon that much, maybe like Eldritch or something like that, this is a pretty good normal summon to just break your opponent's big boss monster or force out a negation or something like that. And then I was thinking about decks that like want to make Isolde. Imagine using this while going second, getting rid of your opponent's like Winda, then extending with another warrior monster and going into your full Isolde combo. That seems like that could be very good. So yeah, sneakily, I could definitely see this card maybe making some waves in some side decks because it just feels like a very powerful card going second, and then going first, maybe just for like warrior decks. Anyway, second card is going to be our new form of Mystical Elf. So this is Mystical Elf, Mystical Burst Stream, level 4, light spellcaster, 800 attack, 2000 defense. So yeah, all of these new cards have the same stat line as the old cards from like 15, 16, 17 years ago. You can only use the first and second effects of this card as a hard once per turn. First effect says when a monster your opponent controls activates its effect and you control a level 5 or higher normal monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then if you do, negate that effect. Second effect, during your opponent's battle phase, quick effect, you can target one normal monster in either graveyard, special summon it, and if you do, while you control it, all monsters your opponent controls must attack it if able. So this is kind of like a cheeky way of adding a little bit of negation, or I guess a much better effect veiler in a deck like Blue Eyes or Dark Magician, I mean, obviously, if you're not playing vanilla monsters, like, and specifically high-level vanilla monsters, don't even think about playing this card because you won't be able to summon it. However, if you're playing like Blue Eyes and Dark Magician, I think that this is an effect veiler with a much higher upside. Not only do you get that same type of negation, but then you also can potentially get like a Monster Reborn effect. And for a deck like Dark Magician, getting that Monster Reborn effect could mean that not only are you getting a Dark Magician, but you're also potentially triggering like Circle from your graveyard. So I do think that it's kind of cheeky. Like I kind of like it. And you know, only in those type of decks though. Like only in like Dark Magician and Blue Eyes and stuff like that. Our final card is the Kaiba card, and this is the new version of Kaiser Glider. And honestly, I was just never a big fan of Kaiser Glider. Like I remember I was playing the game when Dark Crisis came out, and I just never really got all the hype around the card. I mean, I didn't even understand why it was an ultra rare until I realized like, oh, Kaiba plays it in the anime. Anyways, this is Kaiba, or excuse me, Kaiser Glider Golden Burst. Level 6 with the same stat line as the original. Both effects are, no, actually, just the first effect is a hard once per turn. First effect, quick effect, to contribute one monster, special summon this card from your hand. Second effect, if this card is normal or special summon, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. This card's attack becomes equal to that monster's until the end of the turn. So, I really don't like this card very much, other than the fact that it can be summoned during your opponent's turn. I really don't see some great reason to run it. Like, that's kind of a cute gimmick, I'll give it that, because when I think of a high-level monster that is summoned during your opponent's turn by tributing something, I guess like Aether, the Monarch card, comes to mind, but not a lot of cards, not, you know, very generic ones. And this is fairly generic, but when this card hits the field, at best, I guess it could copy a really high attack of one of your opponent's monsters. The problem is your opponent could still just run that monster into this card. And even if you're thinking, well, at least I got rid of their best monster. Okay, well, they got rid of your Kaiser Glider and they got rid of a card that you tributed. So they still got rid of 2 of your cards for 1 at best. Honestly, I think that this card would have made much more sense if it just couldn't be destroyed by battle or something like that. I mean, it's not a card that's really that difficult to get off the field because it doesn't offer any protection, not even battle protection, which the original one kind of had a little bit of battle protection, couldn't be destroyed by monsters with the same attack. But I don't know, I'm just not like a fan of this card. I just don't really understand what niche it's really trying to serve other than the whole it can be summoned during your opponent's turn. And this is by far the worst one. Like, I don't even know where you would really run this card. I guess you can tribute something that's like being targeted during your opponent's turn, and that's like a cheeky way to dodge targeting, but like, I ain't playing this card. Anyways, whatever you guys think of the 3 cards, you leave that in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching as always.